Birger, welcome. Thanks for making the time.
Yes.
We are here at the Euroseeds Congress in Prague. And for most people, it is the first big event, the big seeds event that we're all attending. So a lot of excitement in the air.
Yes.
But what for you is one of the positive things that came out of the COVID crisis?
I think actually we had more time to spend within the company to concentrate on strategies and internal things. That was actually quite positive, and also work well with online meetings, and that we can take further on and combine physical meetings with online meeting. It's very handy, and time it saves us some time, so it's nice.
Absolutely, everybody is ready to take a Zoom call immediately.
Yes, there's no technical hinder anymore. So.
Absolutely. Birger, you have just been elected as the new chairman of the Euroseeds Cereals and Pulses Group. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What will you be focusing on in the near future?
Yeah, if you look ahead, I think it's still this sustainable issues will be the main. But maybe for me, not so much what we see from farm to fork, the cutting of pesticides, cutting on fertilizers. For me, it's more about the climate change, and that's also two things. It's a more extreme climate, and to make the varieties more resilient. But even more important, and what will be the big issue for the future, from my point of view, it's cutting the gas house emissions. If you look at Denmark, which is of course an agriculture country, 23% of the gas house emissions comes from the agriculture.
Wow.
And if you take in the cost for transport related to agriculture and also land use exchange with the imported goods, it's actually 33%. So for the future, I think this issue will also be the license to produce in the agricultural business. And we had to take it very seriously.
Yeah, no, those are very big issues. You mentioned climate change. Can breeding for climate preparedness, can that really help us with the challenges going forward?
Yes, I truly believe that. And the seed is the key. But there's one point there I want to mention. That's that I see we get a very hard competition for land. Because you need land. First of all, the land use change is a no-go. All calculations tells you when you take new undisturbed land into agriculture, it's a bad calculation. So that's a no-go, and also for biodiversity, we need with the conservation ecology, we need land for that.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah. And also we have maybe to take out some permanent what you call it, set aside for maybe some organic soils, also for protecting some drinking water. And then last not least, we see the extreme weather is in some region putting the production under pressure. What does that means for me is that on the high productive areas and agriculture land, we have in the future an obligation to produce as much and as good as possible.
Sure.
And there I see the genetics and the seed as the key. Because you have to sow the fields anyhow. Why not use a better seed? More, I normally call it intelligent seed, but an upgraded seed with better performance.
Yeah, no, as a plant breeder, I fully agree.
Yeah.
Better seed leads to better yield, of course. But of course, that requires a lot of research.
Yes.
And research investment. Are there any exciting research initiatives that we should know about?
Yeah, I think actually we have to focus when we talk emissions. Whatever you harvest, you have to look what is the CO2 footprint from that kilogram of grain or commodity. And that really will be what we have to concentrate on. And of course, there's the usual thinking, produce more with less input. And there we have to go very hard into both the better photosynthesis to produce higher biomass and yields, of course, but also the classical disease resistance and nutrient use efficiency and so on. And there's one other thing there I want to mention. That's we have an issue in our crop growing with you call it laughter gas or nitrous oxides.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And there you have the possibility to use some inhibitors.
Okay.
And you can do that synthetic, and it works. Mm-hmm. And in that way, you prohibit the emission of the latter gas, which is actually 300 times as damaging as CO2. Yeah. But we have to look into the plants there also. I think there's some possibilities for what you call BNI, biological nitrification inhibitors. Okay. And it's known for some species, but we recently find it's also possible for wheat, probably. Mm. So if we could do something good there, it really would help on the emissions, because it's one of the, in the calculations, really hard producers. Yeah. And that's more the classical thinking. We have to go in that direction, but also we have to look more to how to use our commodities. We know it from the barley we use for beer and the wheat we use for bread, but we have to go down that road much more intensively. Look at our commodities for feedstuff. Look at pulses for doing protein isolates and so on. So for me, I think we have to design our products and production much more for the specific use. So that will be important. And of course, the technology is to help us. It's for me, genomic selection. We have to step up on what we could call big data in breeding, and do much more in genomic selection, because that's the key to do better selection, particularly for high production and yields. And again, if you look at the emissions per kilo, we need to produce more per hectare to have a lower impact on the climate and emissions.
Especially with the growing population.
Exactly.
We need to produce more per hectare, yeah.
And you mentioned funding. It's part of the game, and technology also. I have to remember CRISPR, and particularly for what I say about designing our products for the end use, that the CRISPR will be absolutely necessary. Yeah.
Good to hear.
And the funding, I see that it's a big task, and we have in front of us. So we, of course, have to use our own resources in the sector, but also funding from EU, funding from national governments. But I see in Denmark some very positive possibilities also with private funds having quite large resources and having now focus on the emissions from the agriculture and the need to solve the problems. So sometimes they have even more money than the state to spend on this. So,
try to tap into it. We can. I think the plant breeding and the seed sector is the key. To solving many of the challenges. So if you can reroute some of those resources, that would be greatly appreciated. Yes. Earlier on, you mentioned pulses, and of course they are more and more important towards the protein picture. Yes. And of course the EU has its EU protein plan.
Exactly.
I'm also seeing a lot of attention towards plant-based foods.
Yes.
Is that really going to help us with the challenges going forward?
Yes, I'm surely convinced about that.
Mm-hmm.
It will be for many, many years a supplement to the animal production and the meat, of course, but it's growing. We see it grows already. If you look at the production of protein isolates from peas, fava beans, it's in a steep increase. So, and there's certainly interest also in the agriculture for having more peas, soya beans, lupins, whatever. And we see the good food coming. We see the beef from peas or milk from oats and cheese from potato starch. And I think it's going that direction. So, but again, we also in the breeding I think we need to do more targeted efforts in these crops. And
towards a higher protein content.
Higher protein content, high yields, more stable yields. For instance, fava bean, we have some issues with stability over years with the yields. And again, we have to go together with the industry, look at what is the processing, what's needed in the end product, and how can we do something on the genetic side to improve the product. And again, CRISPR will be the key here.
Yeah.
So because there's some anti-neutral compounds in some of the pulses and so on. So that's really something to fix, you could say, but also maybe some low-hanging fruits there too. When we get the CRISPR. Yeah.
I'm hearing some good stories about lupin. You mentioned lupin.
Yeah.
And they had for a long time an issue with a disease, a specific fungus disease, and they have now bred in the resistance. So more and more lupin varieties are coming out now.
Yes.
So that's absolutely one of the choices that the farmers in the future will be able to make.
Yes. And they are ready, I think. If you listen to the agriculture and the farmers, they're ready. And the industry is very engaged.
So that's a lot of issues. Birger, could you try to summarize those a little bit?
Yes, I think if you look a little bit on a shorter term, of course, in our regulations, this really will need some maybe dramatic steps, and we see the NGT is in the right direction, and we got positive feedback from Commission and so on. So. And there's a roadmap, so we're hopeful on that area. But also, I would mention PRM, or the new seed law and the revision of the seed law, as a very important measure in the breeding for registration of our product. Also concerning the sustainability, and that's really have to get right, this new legislation to support this whole development towards a more climate neutral agriculture.
Now, fantastic. Those will be two super big topics that will keep the European seed world busy for the next 5 years, if not longer. The revision of the EU seed regulations and the new genomic techniques, the NGTs. Very important topics, and I'm sure you and your team will be focusing heavily on that.
Yes.
Towards a good outcome.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Birger.
Yeah. Thank you.